Welcome to Turn Up, Beardown. We are here for week 17, and I am joined this week by Matt and Chris. What's going on, guys?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Excited.
Big week in here. So just to give everyone a little background, we got Chris Haling, aka Packers fan 31, aka Bleeding Cheese on his social media accounts. And this guy's pretty hardcore loyal Packers fan. He's one of my best friends. We're glad to have him on. We want his perspective on the old Green Bay side this week, as it is. It's a huge week for us and Green Bay. They want to position themselves, accordingly. They also it's Bear week, so it's a rivalry week, and I think they're taking it serious. So excited to have him on board here to hear his take.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been listening to a few of your shows and commenting, and glad that we were able to make this work out.
Yeah, super fun. Great having you. It'll be a good way to see both sides, even though we know the Bear side's the right side. So we'll move on with that. But we got any trivia today? Either of you guys got anything?
Yeah, I got.
I know you got something. I was just, setting you up for it.
Quarterback against the Packers. The most winningest quarterback against the Packers.
I'm pretty sure we talked about this before. It's Jim McMahon, right?
Jim McMahon was 8-1 against the Packers.
8-1. Wow.
What? I mean, for me, that just put him in a whole other category for me.
Yeah.
That just seems ridiculous because all the rest of our records are like 1-8.
Wait, are you looking up the stats right now? What game did he lose to the Packers?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay, I'm just
probably a game that he didn't start.
Yeah. So, well, I just wonder because there was that game where he got injured. It was way after the play.
The slam.
Yeah, a lot of people say that kind of ended his time with the Bears in a way because he was never really able to be the same quarterback after that.
For sure. Chris, how do you feel about that slam? Is that something that is taught up there? That Chris Heller is right in his playbook? What's going on?
That was well before our time, Matt. I don't condone that kind of activity. And can you imagine if someone did that in today's? Does that to Aaron Rodgers on Sunday? I'm going to march down to St. Joe, and I'm going to come find you, Matt. I know you put him up to it.
Oh, dude, I've been talking to Greg Williams on the side. Dude, we got a bounty on that man.
Oh my gosh, is Greg Williams still coaching the NFL at this point? Or did he get fired by the Jets?
Not the Saints. Who did I see him with?
I thought he was with the Jets.
Wasn't he?
I'm checking right now. Yeah, most recently served as defensive coordinator for the Jets, 2019 to 2020.
The play against for the Raiders when they threw that late touchdown. Fired the next day. Just trying to get Trevor Lawrence. I mean, why are you mad at the guy?
Speaking of which, a couple things have happened in the last week. One is that the Bears beat the Jags. So now the Jacksonville Jaguars should get Trevor Lawrence. But then he kind of got destroyed last night in that college football game. So maybe.
What's your take on that? Who would you rather have? I know you have Jordan Love on deck, your boy. You were really excited when they drafted him. But if you could pick to start a franchise, would you take Field, Wilson, someone else, or Lawrence? Who would you pick?
You got to go with Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, because you can't make a decision based on one game. I know Justin Fields has been doing well at Ohio State, but Trevor Lawrence has been the prize since day one. So I would think that's who the Jaguars are going to go with.
Yeah, and I watched a little bit of that game last night, and Trevor Lawrence can throw the ball, and he can run the ball really well too. But it wasn't so much what he wasn't doing. It was more that Clemson could not stop Justin Fields last night. He was doing everything and actually got hit pretty hard at 21-14 in the game, an injury that looked like it was going to be a broken rib or something, and he stayed in, and he ended up throwing for 6 touchdowns on the night. And so I was really impressed with Fields. I haven't watched him play much, probably because the Big Ten only played 6 games this year. But I was impressed with what I saw. I don't think the Bears are going to get either of these guys, so that's kind of out of the question for us, especially now that Mitchell Trubisky has made his return to greatness. So.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Well, I haven't watched enough about the Zach Wilson dude in BYU. I think he's probably the greenest or the rawest out of those three.
Yeah.
I don't think Trey Lance. I watched some Trey Lance video. It's hard to evaluate him because he's playing lower level D1 talent. I know that's hard to, that's kind of hard for me to say, but I just think like if you're playing, Washington Tech State from, the Untitled Chapter, it's hard for me to gauge how good, and some of his, I don't know. It's just hard to watch his tape because he does run it a lot. When he does throw it, his guys are like open by like 15, 20 yards. So it's just, I don't know. They have a good scheme there. They know what they're doing, obviously, because they're always winning. They're always winning down there. But it's just hard to kind of get a gauge for a second tier quarterback. Now, Mack Jones is another one who I'm getting my Mel Kiper on right now. I feel like Count Chocula. And Mack Jones has looked better as of late, but I don't know if it's like it's stereotypical for us to say like Alabama quarterbacks, outside of Joe Namath,
Yeah, you got Tua though. You got Tua in the NFL right now.
Hey, Bart Starr.
Bart Starr went to
Alabama.
Oh, that would have been a great trivia question. There it is. What university did Bart Starr go to? That answer is Alabama because Roll Tide. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this week's matchup. We got the Packers traveling to Chicago. It's a big game for both teams. Packers are looking to get the first seed in the NFC. Bears are trying to work their way into the playoffs, win an in scenario. If the Cardinals are to lose, then the Bears can lose this game and the Bears will still make the playoffs. If the Bears win, the Cardinals win over the Rams, then the Bears would end up being the 6th seed. Otherwise, they would be the 7th seed or not in the playoffs. So here we go. For this week, the preview looks pretty similar to what happened in the game right after Thanksgiving on that Sunday night game where Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, those are the guys that really lead this Packers offense. And I think we can all say the real key here for the Bears is to play a much better defensive game than last time because the Bears defense did not stop the Packers at all. Looking for Trubisky to play well, to keep to be safe with the ball and not make any big mistakes. David Montgomery to continue to run the ball well, and then Akeem Hicks has got to play in this game. He's got to do his job to slow down Aaron Jones in the running game, and that is really a key for the Bears. So, what are you guys' takeaways with these players, and anything else you could add just to preview this game?
Chris, Matt, you want to start? Oh, you want me to start? Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. And Devontae Adams is playing some really good football. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers MVP level. Aaron Jones, though, he's busted a lot of big runs off to the left side this year. And now with David Bakhtiari injured, that could really throw a wrench into things for the Packers. But with the emergence of A.J. Dillon last week, who kind of out Derrick Henry himself, it'll be interesting to see how the Packers rotate their backfield, especially with Jamal Williams coming back from injury too. So, but I think the Hicks factor is big. Him not playing last game and the last time the Packers met the Bears in Week 12, and that could be a factor. But I as a Packer fan, I'm worried about the Bears pass rush and how the Packers react to the Bakhtiari injury.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm looking. We talked about Hicks. He didn't play last game. I don't think, did he? I think he was out. Wasn't he?
Yeah, he was out.
Yeah,
that was
hammy.
He was recovering from that Viking game, but then we had the bye week, and then he still didn't play in that one. And one thing I actually found out, I'm not trying to take away your time, but both Packers running backs are averaging over 5 yards a carry this year, and I was really surprised by that. But I guess when you have Aaron Rodgers, that helps out your running backs a lot.
For sure.
You don't see a lot of stacked boxes.
You do. And the running backs to me aren't even that much. I mean, they are, but who's your X factor? It's Aaron Rodgers in the passing game. I mean, that's ultimately what ate you up first time, and that's how they win. So, if they got their full stable back now that you want to introduce guys like AJ, Quad Monster, Dillon into the picture, tough guy to be, goal line guy. And it's just another facet of their offense, I think, that they've slowly started to introduce, and it plays in the playoffs. But the one matchup, and I told you this the last time, Scott, is I really wanted to see Kyle Fuller. He's not a guy that shadows. He doesn't go one-on-one the whole time. But I would love to see him and Devontae in just a one-on-one matchup, because when Devontae lines up in the slot, we have no one that's going to cover him. No one.
Yeah.
You don't want a linebacker on him. You don't want a nickelback. You don't even want Eddie Jackson on him.
Yeah, and there's a really big thing that's potentially going to happen, and Jalen Johnson is still potentially not going to play this game, and we need him to play this game so that otherwise, if Devontae Adams is going up against Duke Shelley or Vildor, then that's not going to look good.
And I think we would feel better if you said, don't let Devontae Adams beat us. Let one of those other receivers or Tunyon. Sounds like a Montana meat company. Tunyon. I mean, just don't let Devontae eat you up, because ultimately he's done it all year. The guy, I mean, you could legitimately throw him in there for the MVP consideration. He's been that active, and he's got 17 touchdowns, doesn't he?
Yeah, and what I don't know the specifics. I'd have to look it up also, but he's only really played 12 and a half games this year, and he's on pace to potentially break some all-time Packers single-season records. So, he definitely could be right up there in the MVP conversation, but it's always going to default to the guy getting them the ball.
Right. And so, it's just for me, it's I don't know how they still scheme, and he still gets open with his feet. He's a he's a technician when he runs routes. Let's just do everything we can to just get to Rodgers and try to just keep Devontae clamped a little bit, and then you like your chances, but still, Lazard, Brown, Tunyon, meat company, dude. I mean, that you do have weapons that are low key that can. Nice.
For sure, in some ways, I was talking to my dad last night, another diehard Bears fan, and we were just thinking, what a setup for Mitchell Trubisky here. He starts out 3-0, even though they probably would have lost that game against the Falcons, but who knows, Falcons blow leads against everyone.
Yeah.
But he gets benched after going 3-0, and then Foles goes, 2-5? 2-5, and so Trubisky is right now sitting at about, I think it's 6-2 on the year. And if he wins this game, he'll go 7-2. And if he wins this game, he'll earn the Bears a playoff spot against the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. So very fitting. If Trubisky can play well in this game, then that just says a lot about where he's come in the whole scope of this whole entire season. So looking for big things out of him. And by that, just playing well, not making 5 amazing throws. If he does, that'd be great. But he doesn't have to do anything other than continue to work the play action, make good decisions. And if he can do that, then I'll be happy. But
He's got to protect the ball too.
Oh, for sure.
He gave turnovers and 3 with the strip, with the double face mask fumble touchdown. That we're coining that new term, but like I said, I mean, the 3 turnovers. The more possessions you give Aaron Rodgers, the less chance you ever win. So
that brings up another good point. So somehow this week I ended up on YouTube and I was watching a 15-minute video. A 15-minute video about all of the times the Packers have been helped by the refs in games that were big calls. So anyway,
Chris doesn't want to hear it. He's shaking his head.
Yeah.
I can think of many games where we weren't helped by the refs too, but I'm sure you're referring to the Des Droptic game. That's a big one. We'll agree to disagree, I guess.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was just doing it for fun purposes. Actually, it was really interesting. I was talking to my cousin, who's the big Packers fan. We were gonna hang out, and while I was calling him, I was like, "Yeah, I'm currently watching a Packers. 10 times the Packers were helped by the refs in critical games." So, anyway, moving on. Let's talk about some of the.
Were any of those against the Bears though? But seriously, on the top 10.
I'm not sure that they were. There was the one against the Lions last season when there was some crazy calls of hands to the face. Yeah. So, I don't think any of them were against the Bears because the Bears usually do their own self-implosions against the Packers, whether it's the pick sixes to defensive tackles or not covering a wide-open wide receiver when the game's on the line.
Caleb Haney.
Yeah. Or just letting the Packers fumble the ball and not picking it up, and then they pick it up and run in for a touchdown.
Yeah.
These are some of the memories that haunt me at night. So.
Weird things happen in Packer Bears games.
Very weird.
Stuff that's unlike any, and I don't know if Bears games are more like this, but it seems like there's always a weird turnover or something crazy happens. Special teams seems to be more of a factor in Packer Bears games than any other opponent we face, and the Packers struggle on special teams. So, I mean, that could be another factor that potentially plays in. It looks like the weather is supposed to be quite clear, actually. So, 20s, low 20s, and low 30s, high 20s.
Definitely going to be some wind, though, I think, if you're down at Soldier.
And the windy city.
I saw 8 miles per hour.
8?
8.
Wow.
So
just let Tornado Dicka get in there. It's going to be about 108 time.
All right, let's talk about some of the keys. So, here's what we're looking at for the Packers. Again, if they can force turnovers on defense, then that has been one of the main ways that the Bears have lost to the Packers as of recently. Trubisky's had a couple fumbles, a couple ill-advised interceptions, especially that first game last year, the 10-3 game where he threw the one in the end zone to Adrian Amos. The Packers need to sustain long drives. They did that well against the Bears in the previous matchup, and that defense just can't be on the field forever, especially against Aaron Rodgers, and expect to be successful. And then if the Packers can prevent the Bears from getting in a rhythm, even last week against the Jags, the 1-13 Jags, the Bears were having a hard time getting to a rhythm for a little bit, and it was a close game at halftime, and I was honestly freaking out, thinking, are we really going to miss out on the playoffs by losing to Jacksonville? That would be the worst thing ever. And then for the Bears, we got to keep Rodgers off the field. Got to get them off on third downs. We haven't been the best lately on third downs. I feel like the opponents are converting a lot of the third downs. We need David Montgomery to establish the run. He did have that 57-yarder against the Packers to open up that previous meeting. But ultimately, Trubisky's going to have to play well. He's going to have to do a couple things that will allow for extended drives, and we got to have touchdowns instead of field goals. So there are the keys. What's your guys' breakdown of that?
Yeah, I'll just add to yours, Scott, and then we'll get Chris's Packer perspective here. Again, got to run the ball more Montgomery, less Cordell Patterson. Man, we really need to connect with Mooney down the field. We need to stretch the defense of those safeties. I was talking to Chris about Darnell Savage. Dude's been a monster, and he's so aggressive. He wants to get up. He wants to attack downfield. And so, a lot of his picks, he's planting his foot in the ground, and he sees that route, and boom, he's running through it. He's not worried about someone throwing it over the top. So for us, because I think most of our offense is that short to intermediate passing game. Over the middle, Allen Robinson, Jimmy Graham commit those things. I really would like to see us be able to try to stretch it somewhere in the first half in order to try and soften those safeties up for some of that shorter stuff to open up. And again, Hicks, Mack, I really would like to see the evolution of our play call and some of our looks defensively against Aaron. Fangio did an amazing job he's kind of like Aaron's kryptonite, in my opinion. And you said, especially when he had some time with the 49ers there for a while. And I think even as a Bears defensive coordinator, I think he did a better job of corralling Rodgers, different pressure packages, different looks, because we have the same scheme, we have the same players, yet I don't think Pagano has got us playing at the level that Fangio did. So I would really just like to see Pagano really not be like himself, let's say, and just kind of just go wild card mode. Go Charlie Kelly, wild card mode. Throw the kitchen sink at him. He's pretty much coaching for his job as well. I think he's kind of tied with Nagy, and so I think it's the coordinator versus Rodgers, and I think again for us it's Trubisky's got to be at one pick or under, let's say one turnover or below in order for us to be in the game. Have a chance to win. I think.
I agree with both of you guys. From the Bears' perspective, big thing too, I think for Chicago would be to get an early start. That's going to be the best way that you're going to be able to establish the run and keep it going. In return, you're keeping Rodgers off the field. You mentioned the big 57-yard run that Montgomery had in the first quarter against the Packers the first time around. Packers' run defense has been a little better lately. They did hold Derrick Henry to under 100 yards last week, but that was a weather game. And a lot of factors played in. The Packers really jumped out to an early lead and really changed the way Tennessee had to attack us. So, but all very good points. And again, I'll reiterate the fact that I'm worried about the pass rush. But, ultimately, Rodgers he's had a lot of good history at Soldier Field, and that's the guy right there. I mean, it's going to come down to him.
Yeah, little Green Bay, big Chicago, little Green Bay, huh?
Green Bay versus big Chicago, and the playoffs start this week. That's what Matty LaFleur is telling the team. So,
All right, so Chris and I were talking about this a little bit before. Matt, you were talking, or you got onto the meeting, but I actually
missed the production meeting.
Yeah, you missed the production meeting. I actually like that we're having the 7 teams in the playoffs. I know it kind of stinks for the 2 seed, but even going back 2 years, the Bears were 12-4. They had a really good season. We had to play in the wild card week, but I guess now I'm just thinking. I think it's fun because here we are in a game, and the Bears wouldn't really have a chance maybe to make the playoffs. I guess they could sneak into the 6th seed, but the Packers would have nothing to play for. So now both of these teams in the last week of the season have something to play for, and I think that's kind of more fun. I also like that next week we're going to get 6 games to watch. So it's going to be 3 on Saturday and 3 on Sunday because of the way they added 2 more playoff teams. So I think that's pretty fun. Again, it does kind of stink for the 2 seed that they don't get that bye into the next round, but for viewers, it makes for a better experience. What do you guys think about the 7 teams in each conference?
I think it really rewards the 1 seed. You get a free win in the playoffs in a year that home field advantage may not mean all that much because you don't have fans in the stands. And so, for a team like the Packers, for example, that's huge to move on. That's why this game is so big for the Packers. And you look at the scenarios where the Saints and the Seahawks are both vying for that number 1 seed. There's a lot of teams playing for something this week. And I think that the NFL did a good job with that. Not only with keeping the competitive nature in these games, but assembling the Week 17 schedule where a lot of these key games, think of it. Packers are playing the Bears. Well, the Bears care about the Arizona game. Well, Arizona plays at the same exact time as the Bears. Same with the Packers, with the San Francisco and the Seattle game. They all play at 3:25. So they did a good job at making sure that these teams are playing to win and not resting starters. And I think it's going to make for a couple good weeks of football here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't have a head count on who's got fans and who doesn't. I just know living here in Kansas City, the Chiefs will have some fans. I don't know. Are they changing it to where in the playoffs all teams can, or is that again a state by state thing?
I know that the Bills are going to allow Buffalo is going to be allowed to have fans, but they have an outdoor stadium. I'm thinking that it depends on the city and it depends on if it's an indoor or outdoor stadium. But I guess it doesn't really matter for the Bears because they're not going to be playing in Chicago during the playoffs. So, at all.
Well, and like if we are fortunate enough to win, let's say even the Packers get the 1 seed, you're either going to the Saints with no one in the crowd or the Seahawks with no one in the crowd, possibly. I mean, that's you don't. Yeah. I mean, for a team like us, that's kind of lit. That we've been playing better as of late, but for the most part, it's kind of been an up and down season.
Yeah.
To have the ability to go in and play those teams without the crowd, which are, I mean, those two stadiums are one of the biggest factors for crowd noise, I would say, along with Arrowhead, and there's a couple other Dude, Green Bay is even loud. I've been there myself. Green Bay's loud. So to not have those and to have someone like Trubisky, who's not a seasoned veteran in the playoffs, who you don't want to throw more on his plate necessarily and have to worry about, silent snap count and audibles and being able to hear the offense, his players be able to hear him. I guess Nagy, thank God. Man, that's Matt Nagy not calling plays is my Christmas. And so for him to, not hear, just the communication factor, I think is nice. I think it's a luxury that, we'll probably won't have again. I think this is probably the only season that you'll probably have something like that unless, this continues to happen, unfortunately. But I think it's nice that even though we're going to play a team like Seattle or New Orleans, if we get in, for the most part, or we could play Green Bay. I like that we don't have to. We're not fighting the 12th man or Who Dat Nation. We're literally just going up against the Saints on a turf surface, and we're not really having to worry about the extra things that go into noise, atmosphere, environment. We just go out and play.
Yeah. I will say this. I was looking at it. Bears 5-3 in away games this year. That means we lost to Green Bay, Tennessee, and the Rams. And all those games were pretty bad games. But other than that, we played really well on the road. And Chris and I actually talked about this earlier, but if the Bears win this game, I don't see Seattle necessarily losing to San Francisco this weekend. If we win this game, that means 2-7. We could very well be heading to Lambeau for next week's playoff game if we win this game. So it's a very similar situation to 2 years ago when the Bears played the Vikings on the last game of the year, and we ended up playing our starters. We won the game. We knocked the Vikings out of the playoffs, only to get the Eagles, only to lead to the worst experience of football ever. So let's stop talking about that. Let's just move on to our prediction because I can't handle that right now.
Christmas Day.
Yeah. All right. So
have a Parkey fan, by the way. I'm just going to throw that out there.
What?
I think you'd rather have Parkey than Crosby. So let's make that happen, Green Bay.
Okay. So hey, this is a Bears podcast. This is the last game of the year. I went with the Bears 24-21. I'm hoping it's close. I'm hoping we have a chance and we play well. Maybe if we get up, the Packers do start taking their players out, but I don't know. I still don't think that would necessarily happen because they're going to want that first round bye. So I'm going Bears 24, Packers 21. What do you guys got?
I got 20, 21, 20. Again, I think Green Bay's defense is pretty good. I like their defense. I think they can get after the quarterback. I think their secondary is playing all right. There's no way we hang a 30 burger on the Packers. I'm sorry.
That's what I was thinking.
It's just going to be tough. I just think it's going to be tight. I would like to think it's going to be tight. Biggest factor, you're right, Chris. We have to get up. If we get out in front, the game will be tight. It'll be a grind down the stretch. If we do not get, just hard for me to see Trubisky and them climb out with Rodgers at the helm, if you get behind. So I'm going to go 21-20. I think defense makes a late stand. I think
you got Bears or Packers?
Bears 21-20. I don't know though, because reverse psychology has been our go-to this year on this podcast, and every time we go Bears, what happens? Every time we go the other team, what happens? So
yeah,
I think it's maybe just the fact that Chris is in here, and I don't want to look at him and say I think the Packers are going to win. That's probably the biggest piece right now, but I'm going to go with a 1 point win. It's weak, but that's what I got. Chris, what you got, man?
So I'm going to look at this from a whole, not the X's and O's of the game, but just being a Packer fan over the last few years. And Aaron Rodgers has always expressed the importance of playing home playoff games. And we're talking a guy that's been in 4 NFC championship games now, all on the road. And the Packers know how important it is to have that game at home. And I think they're going to be focused and come out ready to play on Sunday. And I don't believe that this game is going to come down to any last-second heroics either. I think the Packers have a job to get done. Like I said, LaFleur has told the team and the media that the playoffs start now, in their opinion. It's either you beat Chicago this week or you got to play them next week. And so they would much rather take care of them now. I'm going Packers 34, Bears 24.
Nice.
I like it. Good analysis. I think it could easily happen. The last time we predicted a game, I think I went Packers 28, Bears 17 actually, and my fear was that it was going to be a blowout and it was going to get out of hand. And then by the third quarter, that was an unwatchable game. And if anything happens in this game, like if I could have one thing happen, I just want it to be a game, like to be a good game where I can have fun and have a little bit of hope instead of like, well, I guess our season's over and we still have like 2 quarters of football left to play, because that just takes all the fun out of it. Except for there still is the hope that the Cardinals lose and the Bears could still make the playoffs. But I guess this is for Matt. Matt, do you think we're going to make the playoffs?
Honestly, full disclosure, I don't think we have a chance in this game. I think Green Bay's firing on all cylinders. I think they could. It's not hard for them to keep our offense at bay while they score. Get out ahead of us.
Right.
As a Bears fan, no, I don't feel good that another team's going to do their part. And again, I think we're a team that loses to Green Bay, and then again the Rams lose because again they're starting Scott Van Winkle or whoever.
John Wolford apparently.
John Wolford might as well be Sam Hecker, their punter. And I really don't envision someone helping us, and I don't think we have enough yet. I don't think we have enough period to beat Green Bay. So no, I don't think we make the playoffs. I'm sorry, and I think hopefully there's a little bit of change that happens from domino effect from that. You're right. I just want to see a good game down the stretch. Like I said, if it's a blowout, then for me it's totally turned off. I'm totally over it. I'm totally ready for a reset.
Mm-hmm.
So I do. I would appreciate just a good old-fashioned slugfest down the stretch. And, Aaron Rodgers getting hit a few times definitely will help soothe my soul throughout the offseason. But nonetheless, like I said, I just hope that we show up. If we show up, I think, and at least it's a competitive game. I think that way I can at least say, okay, at least we tried. At least we had a shot. To give ourselves a chance in the playoffs. If we just go out there and get rolled, it's just like that only solidifies that these last 3-4 games has been a mirage. So
yeah, and there's a lot to be said about that, and I definitely take note of it because we've beaten the Texans. What are they, 4-11? So we beat the Texans that are 4-11. We beat the Vikings. They're 6-9 right now, and we beat the Jags, who are 1-14. So even though things have kind of turned good again, we've also beaten a lot of bad teams. I think the hardest thing to really accept is the fact that we had a 10-point lead against the Lions with a little over 2 minutes left in the game, and we lost that game because we put our prevent defense out there, let them go right down the field, and then of course Trubisky's passing on third down inside of his own end zone basically, and fumbles. And then even Allen Robinson didn't get a first down he should have got, and we should have more shots in the red zone. And
bad though.
What?
Chris, we ran like a left stretch to David Montgomery, 4th and 1.
Yeah.
Like 20 seconds left. We have a timeout, and we run that play, get stuff short of the line. So yeah, that's tough. That's probably the toughest pill to swallow. Is if we'll look back and say even that Saints game. And for the record, I'm not even worried about this. Not as worried about the Saints as I am the Green Bay and Seattle.
Yeah,
we can play with those teams. We do have the ability to play with those teams. We have the ball in overtime, driving, and we drop 3 straight passes, and then Drew goes down and finishes us off. But so I mean, those are two very winnable games. Even the Titans game. It will be really tough just to look back and say what we could have secured our playoffs, our playoff spot last week against the Jaguars, and for that to not come to fruition, I think will be tough because it's going to be the end of an era. It's going to be the end of Nagy era, the end of Trubisky's probably era, and we're going to have to kind of refigure out who the person of our franchise is going to be. So a little bit of mirror time, a little bit of self-reflectiveness as we move into 2021.
I think Trubisky's going to be our quarterback next year.
I think Chris is love that he just heard that.
I saw some stuff on Bleacher
What choice do you
Report.
have?
Bleacher Report, they're saying that a lot of NFL executives are saying that Trubisky's done enough the last few weeks to earn the job next year. They think he's going to stay in Chicago. I think we'll probably franchise him for another year. We're not going to be picking high enough to get any quarterback that could do anything different. I'm not super excited about free agent quarterbacks. If you think about the fact that people wanted us to get Cam Newton this year, he's been awful, and Trubisky's been much better than Cam Newton.
True.
Maybe Phillip Rivers, but Phillip Rivers would have been just like Nick Foles in our offense. There was no line for a long time. But I would just continue to feed David Montgomery and bring Trubisky back, maybe get another good receiver in the draft.
But then bring Allen Robinson back. I feel like if you're bringing Trubisky back, why are you not bringing A-Rod back? He's our offense in the passing game.
Yeah.
Got another year of Jimmy Graham, one of Chris's favorite players. Will perform for the Pack. He's got 7 touchdowns this year, though, Chris. So
it's crazy.
I know people we overpaid a little bit, but not really if you consider the fact that he's a red zone piece and he scored. He scored 7 touchdowns. He is a factor. Last week he scored twice.
Yeah, everybody's a factor against the Jacksonville Jaguars, though. So
Jimmy had a couple good games for Green Bay, especially the divisional round playoff game against the Seahawks last year, where he caught a key third down reception. So my knock on him has always been in the run blocking game. I mean, the guy is not interested in blocking.
Yeah. He's not a Kittle?
No. Not at all.
Not a Kelsey.
Or a Trevor.
Lurch, man.
I do like Cole Kmet, though. I think Cole Kmet's been a lot better recently because they finally started using him.
Yeah, why weren't they using him? Like, he looks like it's like, oh, now we want to kind of like, kick the tires a little bit on this guy, and he's performed. Like what's he been doing all year? Like what? I just don't understand. I don't get it.
There's not enough time. That was a draft
pick that concerned me as a Packer fan. When you guys got Cole Kmet, I thought that was a really nice pickup for you.
All right, well, that's going to conclude this week's Turn Up Beardown. Thanks, Chris, for joining us. It was fun having you, even though you're a Packers fan.
Thanks for having me. Had fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but go Bears. But can I get a couple individual stats here, Chris? Can you throw out maybe a Devontae, maybe who's going off, just for our fantasy listeners out there that we can plug in and then into some lineups?
With Devontae, you got to think he's almost an automatic touchdown every week he plays now.
Yep.
I would say that he probably has 8 catches, 80 yards, and that somewhere around there. Rodgers has been throwing, high touchdown count, 3-4 touchdowns, but his yards have been in the, in the low to mid 200s. So you can probably expect that.
Sneaky play? Is it going to be Montana Man, or is it going to be like a what's his face from Notre Dame, Brown or Alan Lazard? Okay. You got a little sleeper for this game?
Well, I mean, Marquez Valdez-Scantling wasn't mentioned at all, and he's been quiet lately. So we'll see if he comes on. Packers like to take deep shots to him against Chicago. They really do.
Yeah. Randall Cobb didn't. You guys didn't sign Randall Cobb just for this game this week, did you?
No, I miss Randall though.
We call him Handy Randy around these parts of my house. But hey, again, Chris, appreciate. Chris is showing us his Randall Cobb mug, which is haunting the 2013 season from on the 4th and 1. But Chris, we appreciate you coming on the show, and appreciate your insight, dude. And I'm sure we'll be talking during this Bears-Packers game. I will promise you this: I'm going to stay off Twitter, win or loss, because sometimes it gets dark on Twitter for me. Last time the Bears and Packers played, Chris told me to grow up and support my team because I was in a good place. I was not in a good place. So I'm going to stay off of social media. And, like I said, Happy New Year to you and your family, Chris, and Scott, you and the wife. And I'm hoping we can do this another week.
Yeah. Hey, we could always we need to do this another week. So let's go Bears. Hopefully we can find a way. And don't forget to subscribe for those of you out there that are watching, and we'll see you next week.